Well, hello everyone, this is EC the Gamer, and we are finally here with the Alan Wake final thoughts slash review you know, that I tend to do with games after I finish. Not all of them, but I decided to make one for this. Uh, so yeah, finished the game. Finished also the two DLCs, the one first called The Sentinel and The Rider, which is the second one. And I gotta say, this game really is very unique. It's very interesting. Uh, it looks really good. For the remaster of this game was really, at least in my opinion, I think it's done really well. Uh, this has been one of those games that for many years I've been wanting to play. Like I wanted to. I never played the Max Payne games, and I was thinking of playing them, but now I heard that they're remaking the first ones. I played the third one, by the way, Max Payne 3. I did play that one. A really good game. The mechanics of this game have always been on Remedy. Seem very, I don't know if the right word is weird, but just different compared to other games. So I always found their games very interesting. Like I always, every time I seen them on any video out there, I always wanted to play them. And the way I always saw this game was at the beginning, oh, this is just about a guy with a flashlight fighting shadow monsters or something like that. And the only way to defeat them was with a flashlight. But then I discovered that he actually about a writer and like yeah, that really surprised me. I didn't. I learned about the thing about the writer every now and then, but I never because I never played the game. I tended to forget about it until Alan Wake 2. The trailers of that game started to come and people were talking about the game. So I said, now's the time. Alan Wake 2 is, they make a second game, so clearly there's interest for people to make a second game, right? And not only that, before that they made Control, Quantum Break, and so the Remedy has been making some. I think that's the name of the developer, right? Remedy. So they've been making some interesting games. I wanted to play each one of them. Only Max Payne, and I don't think they made that one from what I understand. Uh, but let's start. I don't know if this is going to be long. Hopefully not. But so as far as the story goes, this game has a confusing story, but not like confusing in the sense that you cannot, you know, like you cannot eventually get it. Like it's more like there's some concepts in the game that you know some things are not answered, right, or are very vague. So you either have to make assumptions, and those assumptions can definitely change how you understand some things in the game. So, uh, but when it comes to the story, it was, you know, the story about this guy. He's having writer's block. He goes with his wife to this small town, to just in a bit of a vacation. Essentially discovered that his wife essentially has came there to also try to help him with like psychology or something like that, and then suddenly everything starts changing, right? Like a monster, or like they call the dark presence, takes his wife down into the lake, and that's where his journey starts. And from there, the story really has. I was most of the game, at least halfway the game, like, is this in his mind or is this actually real? Is this actually something that's happening? Because I know he's starting to read this manuscript, so I'm like, oh, is he understanding? Is he like, is this just he writing a story and we're just seeing the story, so it's not real? But then we discover a bit more about the story, the origins, or at least the backstory of this lake, and in this town, and we start to see, oh, this is actually real. This is happening. It's just the place is a unique place, a very special place. So yeah, you go into this journey, throughout the game. Essentially, they separate like an episode, like a TV show, right? Uh, there's up to what 5 or 6 episodes, if I remember correctly. The overall pace of the game, was well enough. I think the last three, halfway, the second half of the game was the much better one. The beginning was also good, but something happened. And by the way, if you want to see a person explain this story, go into a YouTube channel called Ginji. He has an Alan Wake video explaining it. Uh, I wasn't able to watch it completely because he was starting to talk about control. Because there's a connection to these games, so I cut it off there. But he explained a lot of the story, and the reason why I was struggling, I've been saying this in the other videos, that I struggled as to whether I was going to make my final thoughts or review of this game, was because when I saw that video, I said, this guy is explaining exactly what I was thinking about it. And some of the confusing stuff, he did his research of how this game was made, so he understood things that I didn't, because I didn't care to look at it. But not knowing the history of how this game was made, is incredible how you can actually see the history of the game inside of it. Like, so for example, let me give you. There's a lot of criticism that I have with the gameplay. I don't know if I can start talking about it, but there's criticism in the gameplay. Like, as far as the story, I'm a story guy. I enjoy it. When it came to the gameplay, I always say, as long as the story is really good, I'm okay with the gameplay. But I found that there were some confusing things. I'll give you an example. This game, there are areas. For example, this is a linear story, right? That's what's supposed to be. You're supposed to be a story on a pre-designed path, but then suddenly there are moments in the game. For example, in the forest, when you go to the forest, and there's like what I always mention in the game, like this infinite darkness where enemies come. They will always keep spawning enemies in the area. That is an open area, like, and when you see how big it is, it's not like massive, but it's, for what this game is supposed to be, I was really surprised that it was big enough. But when you go into that place, you ask like, okay, well, what's the purpose? And the purpose is nothing, because you can explore it all the ways you want. You're not going to find a lot of things, like pretty much nothing. And so why the semi-open world? And for example, the other place I mentioned this constantly is the car scenes. You can enter a vehicle and ride along some big areas, and there's nothing. For the most part, there's nothing there. Just enemies spawning and respawning again. But there's nothing. Like, what's the point? And so with Ginji, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but what he said in his video was that this developer had a lot of struggle making this game, because I think it had to do something with that they sold Max Payne. That was the game that they first made, and they didn't have anything else to do, right? So they were just thinking of another game, and essentially this game was a representation of exactly how they were feeling. They didn't know what they were going to do, and it makes sense. There's some gameplay aspects of this game that don't make sense, or at least feel out of place. And one of those is the semi-open world, like places that are open but you can't do anything about it. Then he also mentioned in the video, like, they also had this idea like a survival game, which makes sense. In survival games, you have the resource management, like they don't give you a lot of ammunition. But when you see this game, it was a weird thing that that's one of the other things that I was very frustrated with. Every time you finish an episode, and you go to the next one, you restart. So let's say I was, if you saw what I play, by the end of the episode, I would have like my flare gun would have like 10 flare guns, flare guns. Uh, my shotgun or the rifle would be completely loaded. My pistol, my revolver, at the same because and I was playing normal, so I think hard in a harder setting would be much more difficult. But even then, I was really good with my resource management of the game, and so I was confused because I thought, okay, so we go to the next one and you start with what you have, and you might lose a lot of it because there's a lot of enemy. I don't know, whatever it is, but they don't do that. They restart you again. You start with no weapons, no any, and this is the thing. When it comes to the weapons, okay, doesn't make sense, but I was okay until the flashlight, and that's what I was getting more frustrated because there's like from what I play from the main game up to the DLCs, there's the small flashlight, there's like a high beam flashlight, then you have like the one of the, I don't know how to call it, one of the big ones, and there's even another that's bigger than that one. So there's like four flashlight versions that you would think, like, again, this game doesn't have upgrades, so essentially you don't have a better flare gun or a better shotgun. Like, oh yeah, there's two types of shotgun, I believe, but yeah, you can't upgrade the weapons here. So you would think at the very least the flashlight would be the one thing that would let you upgrade. At least in this case, getting a new flashlight, and then you would just lose it again. The next time you will start playing, and I was like, at one point, so I was reading that some people were frustrated with it, but also some others were happy with it because if you're bad at resource management, then you're golden. You don't have to worry. And yeah, there are points where you just go all Rambo here and just start shooting the heck out of everything because by the end you're going to use everything up and you're going to get a you're going to start from zero. So, but for me, I was frustrated because it doesn't affect me, but unlike because I'm going to do it again, I said, oh, the resource, looking for ammunition and everything, but why? Like, it felt like it was if it was that was something for another game. And from what I understand, it is because of that. It's like they just didn't know what they were going to do. Uh, but when it comes to the gameplay, it really is really a unique one. This thing of the flashlight, the way you use it, is really cool. Then you use your weapon. It's a very unique mechanic. You don't tend to see this in other games. I'm really surprised with it, and I really enjoy it. It's not the best, but there's something. For example, the stamina. I hated it because I never saw a stamina bar, so I couldn't say when I would go out of breath. So I just had to be always careful about that. Another thing of the video, I'm sorry I'm talking about the video too, it's just that he was on the nail with the things that I was thinking. He was talking about how unfair there were some moments, and I agree. It's like suddenly enemies would just spawn outside of, on the back of you, surrounded you, and like it was out of nowhere. And they really had good aim. There were one that has like this axes that they would be throwing at you, and they would be like point blank, like perfect shot. So there was something that were really unfair. But again, once they kill you one time, once you get back, it's just easy. The enemies, I felt like they were not as. Once you saw one, it's like you were seeing the same thing everywhere. So, and it never got really better in the DLC. It's like So the DLCs, I don't remember if they really added something new. If they added something, then it didn't even cross my mind. Uh, there were some unique things on the DLCs, by the way, but not enough for me to say like, oh yes, I will remember that feature they added. Uh, but as far as gameplay, well, it works uh, works enough well enough for you to play the game. More than enough, and that's like it's not like unplayable. Like you can actually play it, and you should enjoy it. I see some people that like I all my games I am playing them, but I wish people play them before they see my gameplay. Or if they not, I just play the games because that's what I tend to do. Is I maybe saw one video, maybe I see a video of a game that I'm not really sure if I'm going to play to convince myself, but most of the time I play the games on my own and then watch after I completed the game. Uh, I watch reactions of other people, let's plays or whatever of other people. So yeah, as far as the gameplay, it was good enough. But it was really unique. So I will say that you don't tend to you don't see a lot of games with this type of thing. So that was a good thing for them. Now, as far as the story, that is a bit. By the end, I loved the story, uh, but they left something so vague that it frustrated me with the story because, give you an example, this is also something that Genji in the other video, in his video, I was like, because I actually asked this question. I went on the internet and wrote this exactly like, I made I went to the search into a specific question, and when I see in Reddit or other forums, no one had a clear answer, and the reason is because no one has answered this to this day. And one of them was, there's a scene in this game when you finally get the shoebox that supposedly Thomas Zane, which was another artist before Alan Wake. He left a manuscript, a paper inside a paper and the clicker, I believe it's called. He leave it in the shoebox, and when Alan Wake started to reading the manuscript, now that wasn't him, right? He from my understanding, he did not write that page, because from the beginning they're telling you, oh, Thomas Zane left something, right? The lady, what is it? The lady of the life or something like that. She knows where it is. She's guarding it. So talk to her. Look for that item. He opens it, start reading it. And it's literally his story, his backstory. Oh, Alan Wake, a kid of this age, whatever. His mother is this. Like, he's describing him completely, right? And what he's going to do essentially in the future, or something like that, right? And I'm like, wait a second. Does that mean that Thomas Zane created Alan Wake? And then you see people on the internet, no, that's not true. You can't create, one of the how do you call it? One of the things that the artists here essentially cannot do is they cannot create something like living or something like that, right? That's the limit, like they can create things from things they know, like reference or something like that, but not something they cannot create a new life. And I'm like, but there's the other people that they say, yeah, he's Thomas Zane created him. Like other people are like, oh no, it's all there's multiple theories, and I'm like, I think that's a very important part, because that for me that could change the whole story. This could be all a dream, or they could just reading someone's story and that's it. It's not real. But at the same time, I feel like, oh, there's definitely there's something here that this has to be real. Like, so it's start to get confusing. And I read one theory, and that one, I actually think that could be true. Is so, and I that's what I was thinking. Maybe Alan Wake was not made by Thomas Zane, but because think about it like this, Alan Wake didn't come out of nowhere. Like it didn't come after Thomas Zane wrote that. It took years and years. So this Thomas Zane, he disappeared a long time ago, and years and years passed for this dark presence to be stuck here, right? And nothing happened for that many years. So from the way I saw it is that Thomas Zane wrote that story, right? And essentially it's just hope. He said, well, there are Allens around the world, right? And there's maybe someone that's called Wake. So he asked Alan Wake, and one day out there on the US or whatever in the world, there's going to be a kid born called Alan Wake, that the parents are going to call him that. Or at least Alan, for at the very least Alan, right? And that kid is going to eventually, at one point in his life, something's going to click, not only his parent, but in his own mind, like, oh, I should be a writer one day. And essentially that's when the failsafe of Thomas Zane activates, to stop the dark presence, because that was the idea, I think, like, he wanted to eventually destroy the dark presence, so he needed something to stay, that will, activate at a certain point. I think that's what it was. So that's my theory. Again, if they don't explain it, I hopefully when I play the second one, they will explain it. That's as far as the story. When it comes to the characters, another frustration from my side, because most of the characters I don't even remember. Didn't even care because there was not enough time. You know how many people they kill in this game? For example, one guy that I forgot, the sheriff, one of the not the female sheriff, the other one that was in the forest, that had the dog and everything. I just remembered that character just now. And I said, oh yes, I remember that character. What happened to the dog? I don't even remember. I don't remember his name. Most of the characters, don't remember them. Except, what is Barry? I think the Sheriff Breaker. The lady, the crazy lady, I don't remember her. I remember Thomas Zane because he's the most unique, one of the most unique characters in the game. The guy in the submarine, what is it, the diving gear, the diving suit. So, yeah, I remember him very well. And the reason why that frustrated me is because there were moments that some characters just came and go. They came, their story happened, and they went immediately. Rose, the girl in the diner. I thought she was going to be more important. Then suddenly, she's there and she's not there. That's it. She did her job and that's it. By the end of the game, there's a well, before that, the FBI agent. He's there. He does his thing, and then supposedly he got killed. And that's it. Never really explained why he's there. What's the actual reason? Like, it's just crazy. And the Ginji video, from what he explained, was that they actually explained it, but on books, which I hate that. Yoko Taro does that with the Nier Automata and Drakengard games, when there's some important things that he's playing only in theater or audio novels, or like other things that are not video games. So it's very frustrating. And from what I understand, it's something like the FBI agent saw something in the dream like this, that this was going to happen, and that maybe it was Alan Wake's fault, and that's why he was following him. Like, why can't you explain that in the game? So yeah, it's a character that, and not only that, one of the last scene in the video game, like the main game, not the DLC, the main game, it ends essentially. They show Rose with a lamp, and at the back of her, there's a house, and you see the FBI agent. And I think, oh, this is cool. They're going to appear in the DLC. I played the Sentinel, no one there, so I said, oh, maybe in the writer. Definitely in the writer. Nothing. Never mentioned again. And then why did you show them? To show us that maybe they're trapped there or something like that? Like, okay, I didn't care for the guy because, and Rose, which I wanted to care for her, I couldn't. So again, like, there's some things that were really vague in this game. So, but even then, I still enjoy the game. Like, other than that, the story was really good. But I just wish they would have perfected those parts of the story. That way I could have given it a better score. So as far as the main game, I really enjoy it from pretty much beginning to end. Yeah, the middle, I was a bit iffy there because of the forest. I mentioned at one point, like, this is all forest all the time. But they eventually fixed that up. By the second half, they start changing the places. Now, let's go with the DLCs. The first one, the Sentinel. A lot of people are talking about how the Obi-Wan show, I don't know if everyone has seen it or know about it, how the Obi-Wan show is like the TV show that is, people ask themselves, like, after they watch it, why does this exist? Why did they make a TV show about Obi-Wan? And I did enjoy it, but I was like, as much as I enjoy it, I was like at the end, but if someone told me this should not exist, I would be, you're right. For those who have not seen that, essentially that's pretty much about, they were trying to use some ideas in the fourth movie, like Obi-Wan was very vague with Darth Vader in like their first encounter after what happened in the third movie, episode 3. And so I think they went with that idea, like maybe Darth Vader meet up with Obi-Wan at one point, at least one time. And they do in that TV show. But the point is, so what? Does that change something in the story? Like, what consequence that meeting has? Nothing. They meet, they fight, that's it. He can kill Darth Vader because that would change the whole story. And Darth Vader can kill Obi-Wan because the same thing. Two characters that have plot armor, because simply there's no point in that story. And that's what I felt with this. With the Sentinel. That first DLC. Why wasn't made? Didn't make sense. Oh, Alan Wake is trapped in the dark place. Okay, he's trying to find the way what happened and how he can get out, right? So he's following this signal, this breadcrumb that he believes Thomas Zane or himself have left, right? And by the end, you're essentially saying, oh yeah, you're still on the journey for this, to get out of here. And most of that first DLC, they pretty much don't explain anything. Now with the second DLC, now that one was the really good one. Now don't get me wrong, in the first one there was some really unique things that I really like. I like how they changed the environment, because essentially his mind is broken in some way. Everything we play from the beginning of the game is not broken, like he's mixed up, like areas from the first episode are mixed with the fixed episode, like, and that kind of thing. And there were some really cool parts, cool scenarios that they brought there. Some unique things using the words and like using the flashlight to activate the words essentially. So again, there were some unique things, but not enough to be like, oh wow. But the second one definitely was much better. That one reminds me of the movie Rogue One, which someone would say like, yeah, we know they got the Death Star plans. So what? Yeah, but the reason of that movie is to explain something that a lot of people who only watch the movies always wanted to ask. That was being asking themselves like, why would someone build something so massive to just have a stupid weak spot? And that movie not only explained it, is one of my favorite movies of Star Wars. But at least that movie felt like there was a purpose and it felt necessary. Well, that's what I feel with the second DLC. It was necessary. I think it was really well, much better than the first one. And by the end, you know, it ends with, Alan Wake essentially, okay, now my mind is completed, and now I can think, essentially think straight. Now I have to find a way out of here. Just writing stories. So there's another game after this called Alan Wake American Nightmare, I believe it's called. It's on the Xbox. I will play on my own eventually, but from my understanding is, from this point forward, Alan Wake is just going to start writing stories to find a way to eventually get out of the dark place, right? Which I assume is not going to be easy. But from what I understand, that story is just one of those many stories that he's writing, or that he wrote. So yeah, I saw already a bit of what it is. I think I know enough. If I need to play, I'll play it on my own. If not, well, it is what it is. But yeah, as far as it goes with the story, I really enjoy it. Gameplay, I said, there are some good things about it. Not perfect, but it is what it is. Especially for the age of the game, this is not as old as other games, but old enough, to some things can be forgiven. I think this game have enough things that you can forgive it. Other things, I don't think so. But story great, and the character that you do remember, like, I don't know if people hate Barry, but I really enjoy Barry. It was a bit obnoxious, but I mean, at the end they give you the if you don't like Barry, they give you the opportunity to kill him, or at least a version of him. So hey, I think he was a very good character. I enjoy him. So yeah, as far as it goes, I think the game was. I see why a lot of people say this is like a cult classic and a game that people they tend to remember a lot, and I can see why. So as I already mentioned, I started playing Control, which you will see the videos, and yeah, I can see how that game, some of the things that they're talking about in that game, can definitely help, expand the story of Alan, which is important, especially for the second game. I think what they're explaining Control could justify whatever. I don't know what the hell the second game is about, but I can see how some of the things that are happening in that game can lead up to Alan Wake escaping or whatever. If that's what happened, I don't know if that's what happened. That he actually escaped. We'll see when I play it. But yeah, I can see some things like that. But yeah, playing Quantum Break too. By the way, I'm really enjoying it. I can see they're definitely trying to get the games better in terms of the gameplay, more action driven. I'm really okay with that, you know. But yeah, other than that, let's give a final scoring. I'll give them. Let's see how I do this. Let's give. I'll give you the main and the two DLC separate. So for the main game, I'll give it an A. My final score for this game, in terms of the game and the Alan Wake, is an 8 out of 10. The first DLC, I'll give it like a 6 out of 10, quite frankly. And the second DLC, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Those are my scores personally and quite frankly professionally. Like if I were to score like a actual reviewer, a professional reviewer, like it would be the same. In the overall score, quite frankly, with all the DLCs and everything, it still stay at an 8 out of 10. I can see people give this game a 6 out of 10. Not far lower than that. I don't think it's fair. But I can see people maybe go 9, but quite frankly, if it's 9 for the story, it can be for anything else. And I would agree with that. But when I aggregate everything, it's an 8 out of 10. Really good game. I definitely recommend it either way. Hopefully by the second game they fix some things, which I assume they will. You know, it's a more modern game, and the remedy that is now is not the same adapt. This game, like a lot of time has passed, so already from what I see in Control or Quantum Break, I don't know if that's the same team, but at the very least they were involved in something. I can see they're definitely have learned a lot of things with the years. So yeah, that's all for the moment, guys. I don't know when you're getting this review, either the Control or the review first, but yeah, that's all for the moment. As always, guys, don't forget, if you enjoyed this video, do subscribe, hit the like button if you enjoy it, leave a comment, and don't forget to hit the notification bell. That's all for the moment. Easy the Gamer signing off, and I will see you on the next video.